All right. If I may, I would like to take you on a strange culinary journey. Let's begin.
A culinary journey.
Table of contents for your tutorial. Introduction: the world's major cuisines. Lesson activity: the world's major cuisines. Development of popular cuisines. Lesson activity: culinary trends. Summary. So, for this week's creative arts project, you are to reflect the world's major cuisines, popular cuisines, and possibly culinary trends. The suggested creative arts project for this week is a menu. For example, if you had a restaurant title here,
Tutorial contents, content guide, current, introduction.
your suggested creative arts project for the week is to create a menu as if your restaurant had a menu item from the United States, a menu item from Europe, a menu item from China, a menu item from Thailand, etc.
National cuisines have developed over thousands of years. They are the result of available foods, weather, and emerging technologies, as well as cultural and traditional influences. Many of these influences overlap, and cuisines can vary greatly from region to region within a single country due to geography, climate, and customs. We see many different international cuisines that have developed completely different flavor profiles, cooking methods, preservation techniques, and culinary traditions with their foods. Additionally, we can see where neighboring countries have influenced each other and how culinary expertise developed as people began to travel.
In this lesson, you'll identify popular international cuisines. You'll also identify factors that influence the development of popular cuisines. Then you'll describe the trends that influence the development of cuisine. Finally, you'll identify various cultures and traditions related to food.
The world's major cuisines. When we decide what to cook for a meal or where to go out to eat, we typically think in terms of the country category first: Italian, Chinese, Indian, and then the type of food we feel like eating. After centuries of experimentation with thousands of different combinations of local seasonal ingredients, national cuisines have developed signature dishes and flavor profiles that people around the world have come to love and enjoy. Let's look at some popular types of national cuisines. We will explore their history and culture as well as the traditions that drive their distinct flavors, ingredients, cooking methods, and signature dishes. Various spices laid out in a world map. China. While only slightly smaller than the United States in landmass, China stood as the leading civilization in the world for centuries and outpaced other civilizations in the arts and sciences. It developed a national cuisine that reflected its many geographic regions and the natural agricultural products of those regions. Many people regard China as the mother of Asian cuisine, where soy sauce, tea, and stir-frying were born. People in northern China eat wheat as a food staple for noodles and dumplings. In southern China, rice is the staple. People consume rice noodles and zongzi, sticky rice wrapped in leaves, with a general preference for spicier flavors. Chinese culture embraces the yin and yang balance of food, with the assumption that a balanced diet will lead to a balanced and healthy life. Yin foods are often vegetables, fish, and seafood. Yang foods are usually meats and fruits. Yin foods are often sweet, while yang foods are tart or sour. France. Because of its fertile soil, France has an abundance of fresh fruits, vegetables, herbs, grains, and meat year-round. France is one of the few European countries that is self-sufficient when it comes to growing its own food. While the French didn't invent cooking or a passion for food, they were the first Western nation to formally document cooking techniques and recipes in cookbooks that spread to other European countries. Under French oversight, cooking became a formal profession with learned skills and qualifications that chefs aspire to attain. Many people consider French recipes as classic recipes because chefs created the recipes based on years of experimentation and validation. Before a chef tries to put their personal stamp on a dish with new techniques or ingredients, they should learn the classic recipe in order to understand the baseline standard for the dish. Snails au gratin, a French dish.
I've had escargot before.
India. As
Mm.
Asia's second largest country after China, India occupies the largest part of the South Asian subcontinent. Some of India's foods date back over 5,000 years to the Indus Valley peoples, who settled in what is now northern Pakistan. They hunted turtles and alligators while foraging for wild grains, herbs, and plants. The concern for balance that characterizes Chinese cuisine also dominates Indian cuisine. Indians use spices for both their flavors as well as their health-giving properties. Indians categorize spices as cool or warm, which is reflective of health practices dating back to Hindu scriptures. Warm spices generate heat in the body. Cool spices induce perspiration and therefore act as cooling agents in India's hot climate.
Remember, in science, we talked about homeostasis. They actually use spices that make you sweat so that way your body can then cool off when it's hot. So don't think of cool.
Cool spices induce perspiration and therefore
Don't think of cool as it tastes cool.
Italy. Distinct geographic regions and products that Italians proudly celebrate through their commitment to Nostrano, Campanilismo, and Sesposa dominate Italian cuisine. Nostrano means local or, more literally, ours, which reflects a commitment to locally grown ingredients. Campanilismo takes the commitment to local produce even further by restricting that region to anywhere within the sound of the bell of the town or village square, the campanile. Sesposa, which literally means it marries, is indicative of a commitment to what goes together grows together. Cookbooks categorize Italian cuisine as northern or southern. However, there are 20 actual regions, which all represent different micro-regions. Their cuisines incorporate ingredients and cooking techniques from their respective microclimates. When food can change from valley to valley or within 20 miles, regional adjectives become irrelevant.
Which factors drive the development of national cuisines? Geography and regional climates, as well as the availability of ingredients.
Japan. As an archipelago, chain of islands, of over 3,000 islands, 2/3 of Japan's landmass is too mountainous for development. Some of those mountain regions have terraced fields to allow farmers to grow rice and other crops, but much of Japan's cuisine centers on rice dishes and seafood. There are no regional or microclimate influences at work. The rituals of Japanese cooking derive from those of the tea ceremony, which evolved from the Chinese tea code. In addition, the food customs of other nations, especially China, have influenced much of Japanese. The rituals of Japan. In addition, The food customs of other nations, especially China, have influenced much of Japanese cuisine. The Chinese people introduced rice cultivation, the use of chopsticks, and the consumption of soy sauce and tofu. Japan has refined these ingredients and dishes to create its own unique cooking style and eating habits. Mexico. Most Mexican fast food and chain restaurants focus on nachos, burritos, chimichangas, and fajitas. This has led many people to developing misconceptions about authentic Mexican cuisine. Just as Italian chefs struggle with the belief that all Italian food features pizza or pasta, Mexican chefs struggle to explain that cheese isn't a core ingredient of every Mexican dish. Mexican cuisine includes a variety of food. In earlier times, natives grew a variety of crops. This included corn, peppers, tomatoes, and beans. In addition, they hunted wild turkey, rabbit, deer, and quail, adding these to a primarily vegetarian diet. When the Spanish explorers landed, they introduced other livestock: cattle, sheep, pigs, goats, and chickens, along with sugarcane, rice, and wheat. Chicken fajita with guacamole and tortillas.
This spice for an extra bonus point is called question mark.
Morocco. Morocco is located in the northwest corner of Africa. It has 3 distinct geographic regions. These regions include the fertile land along the northern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, the Atlas Mountains, and the Western Sahara. The country is facing a problem with desertification. Desertification occurs when fertile land slowly becomes barren and desert-like. However, Morocco is still self-sufficient in food production, unless there is a severe drought. Moroccan cuisine dates back over 2,000 years to the arrival of Berber nomads. These nomads used local ingredients like olives, figs, and dates to prepare lamb and poultry stews. They used the classic earthenware tagine to prepare these stews. Tagines remain a common feature of modern Moroccan cooking. Trading routes and wars brought a series of occupying foreign influences. Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Romans, and Arabs introduced a wide range of spices to the cuisine, including cinnamon, ginger, saffron, cumin, and caraway. Spain. Geographically, Spain is the gateway between Europe and Africa. Spanish cuisine remains remarkably simple, with a commitment to pure ingredients and distinct flavors. The restaurant philosophy of tapas is similar in many ways to the Japanese tradition of visiting different restaurants for different dishes. It represents a celebration of high-quality ingredients with as little preparation and formal technique as possible. In Spain, food is a definitive pleasure, with a nationwide commitment to a 3-hour lunch. An evening out in Spain may consist of tapas with friends at 8 p.m. Most Spaniards follow this with dinner at 11 p.m. Spanish chefs will go to great lengths to explain that Spanish cuisine is not the same as that of Latin America, Mexico, Cuba, and South America. Each region of Spain is proud of its traditional dish, from the paella stews of Valencia to the cold tomato soup known as gazpacho from Andalucía in southern Spain.
Chicken satay.
Thailand. The Thai people migrated to their homeland on the Malay Peninsula from the Yunnan province in China over 2,000 years ago. The cuisine of this region reflects both its heritage and the influence of neighbors in India and Malaysia to the south. Rice remained a dietary staple, and the continuing preference for spicy foods is indicative of the spicy cooking of Yunnan. The Indian influence brought spicier seasonings, including cumin, cardamom, and coriander, as well as a love of curries.
Mm.
The Chinese influence is also seen in a commitment to balancing between salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and hot, using a wide variety of ingredients. For example, in Thai cooking, fish sauce brings the saltiness, while palm, cane, and coconut sugars bring the sweet components. The Thai people used tamarind and lime to add sourness, and they add cilantro, Thai basil, and spearmint leaves for bitterness. Technique in Thai cooking is critical. Only an expert chef can balance the intensity of flavors, aromas, and heat in order to coax them into a truly balanced dish. Vietnam. Geography plays a crucial role in Vietnamese cuisine. This long, narrow country borders China to the north, Cambodia, Laos, and the Gulf of Thailand to the west, and the South China Sea to the east. The Chinese influence brought stir-fries, noodles, and the use of chopsticks. The Cambodian, Khmer, and French influenced the cuisine in the south of Vietnam. Vietnamese cuisine shares many ingredients with the rest of Asia. A commitment to freedom and experience in the preparation of the food characterizes much of Vietnamese cuisine. For example, when eating the traditional beef noodle soup known as pho, customers usually participate in the seasoning of the dish. They can do this by tearing up mint or basil leaves, adding a squeeze of lime, or adding a dash of hot sauce and/or hoisin sauce.
Mm.
In contrast to the formal structure of French cuisine, Vietnamese food, as in much of Asia, is served all at the same time. You will have a bowl of rice or noodles in front of you, and a wide array of communal dishes for you to share. Pho.
The world's major cuisines. So read the instructions for the self-checked activity, type in your response. Activity: using online research, write a report on major cuisines as represented by the restaurants in your area. So don't worry about that. Make a creative arts project that focuses on the world's cuisines. A suggested activity would be the menu item for um, menu items for different areas. So a restaurant menu that contains menu items from different areas of the world, different world cuisines.
Development of popular cuisines. Many national cuisines go back thousands of years to the arrival of migrating tribal populations. However, modern popular cuisines reflect the influence of economic, technological, and political factors. Geography and climate. We may consider geography and climate to be static influences that have been at work for thousands of years. However, their potential for change can continue to exert a modern influence on regional cuisines. Consider the persistent desertification in Morocco. The gradual loss of fertile arable land to barren, arid desert will slowly reduce the country's ability to grow its own produce. If livestock are allowed to overgraze, no plants will remain to hold the soil in place. This allows the wind and rain to carry away fertile topsoil. A world map.
We actually had a terrible experience of this effect where the wind and rain carried away fertile topsoil. It was called as the dust, it was known as the Dust Bowl during the Great Depression.
transportation and communication. Trade routes greatly expanded the availability of ingredients around the world. This allowed countries to embrace dishes that were not indigenous to their local regions or micro-regions. That expansion continues to this day. Modern shipping lanes and air traffic can deliver ingredients from the most remote corner of the world to a chef's table the same day. Seasonality is now just a matter of price. Anyone willing to pay can get top-quality Japanese tuna or Thai lemongrass. Modern travel options, car, train, ship, and airplane, now place many of these formerly exotic destinations within the reach of most people. More and more people are eager to experience local cuisine by traveling to these regions. In addition to these changes, the internet delivers multiple recipes at the click of a mouse button. More and more grocery stores are also carrying these ingredients, whether they are local or not. Adventurous chefs can easily research ingredients for a new dish. They can also learn the history and tradition of any dish. For example, ingredients and recipes are available locally for you to make an authentic Mexican dish at home. Socioeconomic status. Modern transportation can now deliver any ingredient from anywhere in the world at any time. However, not everyone can afford to eat it. For example, Mexican chocolate was traditionally only for royalty. Exotic spices were valued more than precious metals in Europe during the Middle Ages. The availability of food is often an indicator of the socioeconomic status of those eating it. We consider salt and pepper to be kitchen staples these days. However, if we go back in history, salt was valued more as a preservative. Pepper was a valuable spice commonly traded on a spice exchange. In modern culture, the availability of fresh, healthy ingredients is equally reflective of socioeconomic status. For many people, healthy, organic food is simply beyond their household budget. They wind up eating fast food or inexpensive ingredients that may not be good for their health. A woman holding a tray of fresh vegetables. Government and trade. Historic trade routes established by the Phoenicians and Europeans brought a wide range of spices, herbs, and other ingredients to many countries. The Spanish conquistadors brought back chocolate from Central America. Fresh tomato plants arrived in Italy under the sponsorship of the Medici family. England brought back the potato from the New World. The increased availability of ingredients from overseas reflects the need for local producers to expand the market for their goods. However, in some instances, governments have intervened to ban or regulate specific ingredients and foods within their countries for religious, health, and ethical reasons. For example, France does not permit primary, elementary, schools to serve ketchup. Ketchup masks flavors and is therefore seen as a threat to traditional French cuisine. Unpasteurized milk and dairy products are banned in 22 states in the United States and in Canada because they represent a health risk for salmonella. Foie gras is banned in most of Europe, except France, and the United States because of ethical concerns over how the ducks are force-fed. Foie gras on gingerbread. Agricultural and industrial advancements. New farming and fishing techniques also spread along trade routes. We can trace the greatest advancements in agricultural technology to the Industrial Revolution that began in the mid-18th century. Farm machinery freed up people to work in mills and mines. The departure of agrarian workers to higher-paying jobs forced the development of more productive machinery. Inventions like Jethro Tull's mechanical seeder and Andrew Meikle's threshing machine improved the yield of farmland. This trend continues with the science-based development of genetically modified seeds. The increased yield brought about by improved machinery lowered food prices at a time when industrial jobs were providing workers with more disposable income than ever before to experience new food and beverage choices. Religion, culture, and tradition. Many religions have distinct dietary restrictions. Often, the influence of a religion may dominate an entire nation. The national cuisine then reflects those influences. For example, most Hindus don't eat beef based on the belief that cows are sacred animals. Devout Buddhists are vegetarians based on their belief in reincarnation and the concern that eating a living creature will harm its spiritual evolution. Islamists and Jews avoid pork based on Moses' teachings that the animals are unclean. The Roman Catholic religion features periods of fasting and abstinence, such as no meat during the observance of Lent and only eating fish on Fridays. Food can also take on a positive role in the celebration of religious and cultural events. Chinese New Year, for example, includes specific dishes to influence providence in the coming year. Long noodles encourage longevity. Dumplings, traditionally prepared on New Year's Eve and eaten after midnight, represent wealth. Rice cakes promote prosperity in the coming year. Modern fusion. The increased availability of formerly exotic foods on a global scale led to the development of a new food trend called modern fusion. Modern fusion cuisine promised new and exciting dishes. Asian food, with its broad array of ingredients, features prominently in this new trend. Many chefs attempted to blend traditional European dishes with a modern Asian flair. However, as competition increased, the combinations became more extreme. Curried pizza, for example. The trend went into decline for a time. Over time, chefs realized that real fusion had been happening for thousands of years. Local residents experimented with the wealth of ingredients available in their regions. What modern fusion was missing, it was argued, was the process of discarding mashup dishes that clearly didn't work. Today, fusion is experiencing a comeback. Chefs are endeavoring to rehabilitate the term and invite diners to experience new food combinations. The inclusion of Korean pickled cabbage, kimchi, on your food truck taco may not seem like a big event, but the trend is indicative of increased travel and a greater availability of recipes thanks to the internet. U.S. culture. The United States is the archetypal melting pot of cultures. This is due to its Native American heritage and diverse immigrant populations. As such, the United States represents all of these developmental food factors in its national cuisine. Whether it's a lobster roll in the Northeast or fried green tomatoes in the South, the country is large enough to have distinct regional specialties. Similarly, national traditions like turkey with all the fixings at Thanksgiving, or a hot dog at a baseball game, continue to feature prominently in the national food dialogue. Even something as simple as a picnic follows a favorite U.S. food tradition. Grilled burgers, hot dogs, barbecue chicken, potato salad, and fresh watermelon have achieved almost religious status in the nation's diet. As Americans continue to travel the world, the interaction produces a double benefit. Foreign countries start to embrace U.S. cuisine and travelers return home eager to find ethnic restaurants in their hometowns to revisit meals they enjoyed on their vacations. Hot dogs.
If Moroccan shepherds allow their livestock to overgraze their land, the plants can no longer protect the fertile topsoil from being removed by wind and rain. Blank can turn fertile soil into barren, arid land. Ooh,
3.
try again. In Morocco, farmers battle consistently against the loss of fertile land to desertification, which turns fertile land into barren desert-like soil. Culinary trends, directions. We're going to check out these trends.
Any culinary journey requires a consideration of many influencing factors in the development of a national cuisine. Each country's geographical location, climate, and history play an important part. The availability of fresh local ingredients dominates the types of food and how that food is prepared. Neighboring countries and visiting armies can also influence the development of national dishes. Ultimately, national cuisines represent a delicate balance between ingredients, flavors, and aromas that only the most experienced chefs can achieve. What you experience in a local restaurant chain may not be the most authentic recipe, but hopefully you'll be intrigued enough to learn more.
That last image was a image of in food fusion or culinary fusion. So we have the fried chicken in what appears to be a verde sauce with some white rice versus Spanish rice. So you have a variety of textures and flavors that would not normally be on the same plate. Anywho, remember, make sure you knock out your creative arts project, you send the link to it, and you do well on the test. Heads up, the test specifically asks about unique foods from very specific locations. All right, thank you.